5 shocking ways your team members and developers are putting your SaaS company at risk. Literally, you could go out of business if you don't understand these 5 ways and how to protect yourself. Let's get into it. Number 1, no agreement. It doesn't matter who the person is. If they touch your system in any way, shape, or form, you need an agreement. Doesn't matter if it's a developer writing code or a biz dev person getting access to your customer data. You need to make sure they have agreement. Even if I have, somebody that's doing some R&D project and they want access to our CRM, we need to get them to sign an agreement. Why? When you go to exit the business, anybody who touches the code, anybody that was involved in your business, the buyer will ask to see their agreement, contractor agreements, full-time employee agreements, etc. And they're going to look for certain things. They're going to look for an IP ownership agreement. They're going to look for the code rights. They're going to look for all these things because they don't want to buy code that you built, that you think you own, that somebody else got paid to build, but you didn't have an agreement with them. And at any point, they can come back and say, hey, that part, that 10%, that's mine. I did not give you guys that. That is mine and I want it back. That's happened to me. Back when I started my company, Flowtown, we had a biz dev guy that was walking around 1% equity. We did not have an agreement with him. We essentially assigned him that equity, part of an email thread. And when our lawyers were putting together our first round of funding, they noticed that this person had 1% equity in the business, but he wasn't involved. It was called debt equity. You literally have a cap table. And I've seen companies with 10, 15, 25% equity assigned to Billy Bob, and Billy Bob's not even in the business. I'm like, who's Billy Bob? They're like, oh yeah, he was a co-founder. He's no longer here. I'm like, he's walking around with 25% of your business. In my case, it was 1%. It still required me to get on a plane, drive to his house, find him, negotiate with him, and trust me, that wasn't easy, to get him to sign the paperwork to give back that 1% equity so we could close our funding round. You do not want this to stop you from having an incredible payday or move your business forward because you have agreements that have not been signed. Make sure that anybody who touches your business, you've got to get them to sign a simple agreement from your lawyer, every person. So stop, make an audit, look at anybody that's touched the code and ask yourself, do we have an agreement? Let's go get it. You want to get it now. You don't want to wait 3 or 4 or 5 years and your business gets all this press in the news and the person knows what they're sitting on. And when you go ask for a signature, they ask you to write a big check. No agreement, don't move forward. Number 2 is using their servers. So here's the deal. If you have developers, you have designers, you have contractors, you have anybody that is doing work for you, you want them to be working from within your system. I had a client, Marcus, and he called me up because he was stressed out because his developer, his lead developer, essentially was holding him for ransom. He pretty much had access to the GitHub. It was built on his GitHub. They never got the passwords. They never got the keys. They don't know how to get access to it. And the person saying, hey, you promised me an extra 10%, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't know what to do. He's like, do I have to give him access? I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you don't have to, but you can either evaluate the cost of giving him what he wants versus the legal route and what that's going to cost you in time and headspace and speed and all these things. And the default to consider is never allow a contractor to collaborate on their server. So even a designer, they're working out of my Dropbox. When they're creating, designs and PDFs or whatever, the raw image that they're using, the Photoshop files, the AI, whatever it is, those are done inside of our world. We want all the contractors, the writing copy, to write it inside of our Google Drive. You want to start thinking of not letting anybody create on their servers. You want them to use your accounts. So that way, if for whatever reason you got to transition from them, all the source files, all the original things, all the stuff for editing, it's easily discovered. It's there. It's yours. It's within your universe. Number 3 is not sharing logins. This one is a heartbreaker. Recently, one of my clients posted that their lead developer is not sharing the password for their code repository, and they don't know what to do. And what is their response? As I just mentioned, you could go down the path of legal response, but the truth is this might be happening across your organization where you have team members that are either sharing logins or they're not giving you the login to your own systems. They're creating their own personal logins. And you're only going to find out when you transition off from them. It's like, hey, who's got the login for this? If your leaders and yourself, you're not collecting these logins and putting them in a tool like a LastPass, like a 1Password, then you're leaving yourself exposed to not getting access to the systems that you've asked people to help you develop, right? So like one of the things that you want to do, especially if you bring on a contractor, is say, hey, what are we setting up? Where are the logins going to live? Can you make sure we spend time? And you schedule a meeting for 30 minutes and they give you the login and you test out the password and you reset the password. So now you have it and you can give them access through a password management system. But I'm always making sure I'm making the list, I'm tracking and I'm getting the login so that they're within my system. I do not want somebody else to have it. And oftentimes I will reset the password and then create an account for them to get access to for their code. But I own the administrative login for that system. Number 4 is giving access to third-party apps. Here's what I mean by this. And this is probably the biggest vulnerability right now in your business is your team that you set up and you give them access, to all the different systems, typically through their email login, right? Their Google account or whatever, their Microsoft account. Sometimes when they go to use other tools, other third-party apps, it could be something they saw on Product Hunt. It could be like this new startup they read about on TechCrunch, whatever it is. They'll log in using their corporate login. And they don't even realize when they do that, they're just like, log in, click, 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 next. Okay, I'm going to use this tool. Oh, that's cool. It doesn't really work the way I want it to. And then they just like stop using it. But they don't realize they've given that tool access to their system. And oftentimes these tools, when they get prompted to like give access, they're sucking the data out of your system. They're sucking all of the contacts in your contacts system, in your CRM. They're looking at the email. They're evaluating security. They could even crawl through your internal network, and your team gave them access to do this. So I want you to encourage some training around this so that they understand I do not log in my personal email to any startup that requires that. I just won't use the product. It's not worth the risk, the exposure for me. Oftentimes what we do is we force two-factor authentication across all the systems. So if somebody's trying to do this, it makes it incredibly hard for those tools to get access on an ongoing basis. But have the conversation with your team, train them, explain to them what that means to give third-party access to your login, to your infrastructure, to your tooling, to your project management software, to potentially your HubSpot account, your CRM. People are doing this willy-nilly. They're not even aware the risk and exposure they're putting your SaaS company at by trying these new cool tools and then having your customer database sucked dry out of your business and made public on the internet. And then you've got to deal with a security vulnerability that wasn't really a security vulnerability. It was your own team giving access to a tool they shouldn't have. Number 5 is not using strong authentication. Here's the crazy part. As I go through the world, I will look at people use their phones and I see every day folks that do not have a password phrase on their phone. Or honestly, they don't try to hide it too well. I'm like, hey, show me your Instagram. And then they pull up their phone and they type in their passcode. I'm like, you just showed me your passcode. You might as well just show me your PIN to your bank account, because if I have access to your phone, I have access to your email, and I probably have access to all your other systems. And I can transfer money around. I can reset your telco. I can freaking go into your phone system and reset the password to your voicemail box. I can log into your GoDaddy account and reset all your DNS and your emails and your domains. I mean, it's crazy that people do not have security set up. So two-factor authentication is required in today's age, right? And what's cool is a lot of the password management tools will actually let you set it up and then maintain the two-factor authentication in the tool so that your team can keep moving forward, even if you do a shared login and it's not calling you all the time. It's like, hey, I need the token that they just text message to your phone. So be sure that everybody's using strong authentication, because if they're not, there's a very good chance their password is not that strong. Their login's going to get compromised. Most third-party tools eventually get hacked. And what happens is all these hackers collect the logins, decrypt it, and then share it publicly in these databases that other hackers can buy for like $5,000. And then they'll just do brute attacks across new logins that you might have, thinking you've recycled old passwords that they've seen. I mean, if you use a password management tool, it'll actually literally tell you like, this password has been seen in a vulnerability. Please stop using it. But some people aren't that clever and they keep using it without changing it. So you got to make sure that your team is using strong password and two-factor authentication to keep your system protected. So those are the 5 shocking ways your team and developers are putting your SaaS at risk by not, doing the stuff on your servers, not having IP agreements in place, sharing logins, not sharing logins, not having two-factor authentication, not having a mature security model within your company is causing you risk and exposure, especially if you're going to spend the next 5 to 7 years to build this business, 10 years, and then just have one moment bring the whole thing to zero. That is a scary proposition. That's why I wanted to share this with you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what resonated the most. Share it with somebody that you care about, that you think it could serve. And most importantly, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And with that, I want to thank you for watching right to the end. Have an amazing day. I'll see you next week. Boom.